Hello and welcome back to the Square Ball podcast. Brilliant to have you with us again. It is season 2. This is episode 2 of season 2. It is with thanks to William Hill. Please make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels just to keep up to date with what's going on with the podcast, guests that are coming up, anything you wanted to ask us about or talk to us about previous guests. You can follow at William Hill Ireland on Instagram and Twitter for some more brilliant sports content. Please follow the Square Ball podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you'll then get the latest episodes directly into your feed each week. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube page at the Square Ball Pod. Make sure you like the video as well and give us an L review, whether it's positive or negative. Anybody you'd like to hear or see on the podcast in the weeks to come, or with you all the way through to the end of the summer, we'd love to hear your suggestions. If you've got any observations is from Johnny Doyle last week, who was just brilliant in the company of myself and Conor McManus, or any of our previous episodes, all of which are archived and banked from season 1. They won't have dated one bit, bar maybe the odd All-Ireland hurling or football final preview. We've got some brilliant names from last season, the likes of Sean Kavanagh and Kevin Cassidy. And one of our episodes last season that went so well that the guest in question, we've decided to bring that person back as one of our new co-hosts. It was the Ashling Thompson episode. There was a huge reaction to it at the time. She was so honest, she was so giving with her fascinating insight into her career that we said we're going to bring her back for today's episode. And we have an absolute banger of a guest for you today. So I hope you really enjoy what's going to unfold over the next hour or so. Ashling, you decide to come back?
Yeah.
Thanks a million.
I'm surprised you asked me.
So you get to sit in the co-host chair today.
Yeah.
It's a very different feeling.
Very different.
You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm excited to be on the other side of it.
Good. Because there's no pressure on you today.
No, exactly.
You're not going to be asked any of the hard questions.
Yeah, exactly.
When we spoke to you last year, I'm just trying to remember where you were in the season, but I don't think you quite got to the All-Ireland series. But you guys were obviously in the midst of getting ready to try and win back-to-back All-Irelands. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, you've gone and won that All-Ireland. You were at the 34 years of age then, player of the match in the final. I watched that game. You frightened me. It wasn't so much the hurling that you did. Obviously, you were brilliant when you had the ball, but geez, the hits you were throwing into some of those Galway players was, and you followed by a 4th All-Star. So it was a pretty good end. I'm not saying that your appearance on the Square Ball podcast was solely responsible for how you finished the season, but we'd like to take a little bit of credit for it.
A small bit, yeah. No,
what an end.
It was unbelievable. I think I guess the last time I was in the seat, we spoke about just how things were going well and all that. But those seasons, you just never know. It's very unpredictable. But I guess we were what was so overjoyous coming to the end of the season was the fact that we were so consistent throughout the championship campaign, and we just carried that into semi-final, carried that into the final. And I think, for me, that was probably the most important thing to take away from last season, was obviously winning the All-Ireland, number 1, but number 2 was the consistency, and we kept that going throughout the season. And I actually don't recall a season where we were that consistent. So for me, just collectively as a team, it was just unbelievable to achieve that.
So if there's a team out there that feels like they owe you one, it's Galway. You've got a league final in a couple of weeks' time against Galway, and it's not exactly like league medals are 10 a penny around Cork. You just haven't won it in 12 years. I think that's your only league medal. So aside from getting a medal that you haven't been able to have for so long, championship is only 8 weeks away. Is there a little bit of it? We need to kind of keep our foot on the throats of the likes of Galway and lay down an early season marker, or how are you approaching this game?
Well, definitely. I think winning becomes a habit, and I suppose from a psychological aspect too, you want to keep that foot on the pedal. We actually played Galway in the last round of the league, and they absolutely hammered us at the weekend. Now, you could say we didn't have a full team on the day, but at the same time, we didn't have a full team in 2023 when we won All-Ireland. We had 5 starters, you could say, from that season on the bench that came in. So it was absolutely no excuse, and it just shows us that Galway are not going to just sit down this season. And if anything, they're coming back bigger and stronger. So I think the league final is really going to tell a lot. I'm not one that kind of focuses on winning too much because it's out of your control, and I always say that to the players, but I think getting a massive performance in 2 weeks' time, less than 2 weeks, is what's going to be very telling for our championship
8 weeks away.
Season ahead, yeah.
Looking for the 3 in a row. Hasn't been done since the early 70s by Cork.
Yeah, I think Wexford were the last camogie team to do it, and in my career, I think it's our third opportunity to do a 3 in a row. So, no, it's not, again, it's not something I'd really focus on as a player, like, especially when you get older. It's kind of just take season by season.
Can't afford to look too far ahead at your age, Ashling.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So 3 in a row, it sounds nice, it sounds good, and it would be an incredible achievement, I think, to do it, especially in this era. Like, but at the same time, I think just winning the championship on its own, like, will be the main focus.
Well, today we're talking to a man who was part of a team that was going for the 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And like every other hurling team
Incredible.
before them, they failed to do it. That was in a position to go for a 5 in a row. When I say the words Tommy Walsh to you, what sort of memories does that conjure up?
Aerial ball. That's all I think about when I think of Tommy Walsh. And it's funny because, when you look back at those teams and people often ask you, like, who are your sporting heroes or who did you look up to as a young athlete? It's gas because people always expect you to say females, but I think these are the athletes that we saw, especially at my age anyway, coming through, let's say, between even 2004, 2006, that era, like with Cork and that Kilkenny team coming through. Those are the type of athletes that we would have looked to. And Tommy Walsh, luckily, I'm getting the opportunity to sit with him today and have a conversation because he was definitely one of the players that I looked up to massively just for his approach to the game. But how he was able to catch that aerial ball was just an iconic skill from him.
In Gaelic football, we call them fetchers. Like, pound for pound, given his sort of diminutive stature, is he the greatest fetcher in the history of the game?
I would say so.
It's hard to think of someone who was better, given his lack of height.
When I think of aerial ball, like, it's Tommy Walsh's first that comes to mind for me anyway. So
Why don't we bring him in?
Hard. I think so. Yeah.
This is the Tommy Walsh episode of the Square Ball podcast. So we have the great Tommy Walsh in studio. Tommy, how are we doing?
Yeah, good, Dave.
Thanks a million for coming and joining myself and Ashling. Going to throw some numbers at you. You're 41, 13 years with the Cats, 2002 to 2014. 9 All-Ireland medals, 10 Leinster titles, 7 league medals, 9 All-Stars, 6 Railway Cups, All-Ireland medals at under 21, 2 of them, All-Ireland colleges, All-Ireland intermediate club level, 6 Walsh Cups, county and provincial medals at minor level. I haven't included your All-Star awards or Hurler of the Year in this count, but a half-hearted count, kind of gave up after a while, came to 52. And I know you also want to fail at under 14 or 15 level with Tullaroan, so I haven't included that either. That's roughly, give or take, maybe between 55 and 60 different pieces of metal tucked away somewhere. Where are they?
Yeah. They're at home, all right, in fairness. No, listen, Dave, I was unbelievably lucky, I'd say, from the moment, I suppose, I set foot in Tullaroan to, when I finished there a year or two ago, and like, say, on average in Tullaroan primary school, you'd have 5 boys in the class. We had 16. And one of them was like, say, the Owen Kelly or the DJ Carey or the Henry Shefflin of modern hurling. His name is Shane Hennessy. And so, like, from when we went into primary school, like, we had a team straight away in one class.
So 16 was way above the average. That was
the
like
average would be 5 or 6
outstanding
boys.
year.
Yeah,
Right.
the average would be 5 or 6 boys. And then you're depending on having good hurlers out of those 5 as well. And towards we had probably 10, 12 really, really good hurlers out of the 16. So, like, it was an unbelievable start for us. We started off when we were in third class. Normally you wouldn't be hurling really in third class. You'd be kind of either not on the panel or you might be on the fringes if you're lucky. But we were all kind of the first subs, and we lost the school's Ryan C championship. But then we went on and were unbeaten in every championship game since then. We won the C, the B, the A, won the Mini Sevens, won the Country Cup, won Lisdowney, was a prestigious tournament under 13, 7-a-side at the time. We won the Cup, the Shield, and there was a medals, a third division there as well.
And so the school and the club were intrinsically linked, were they? It was essentially the same team.
Yeah, they are
the school
same
team and the club team.
Yeah, they're the very same because we're a one parish club and a one school club, one
school
two
parish.
pubs.
Yeah. You need to celebrate all that success. Do the medals mean anything to you? Like, when's the last time you saw one of the All-Ireland medals?
Well, the physical medals don't.
Yeah.
I'd imagine Ashling is the very same. but the memories of them are absolutely everything. Like, you know, like you mentioned the Fela, like that was probably my first time where the joy was just undescribable. Like we bet Sarsfields in that final down Waterford from Welsh Park, and to even get there, you have to come out with your group in Fela, and we had to win our last game against Mount Sion by 33 points. So we were after drawing with Kilmallock in the middle game. We were the two teams that were tipped
So
to
it's
come out.
coming
of
down
it.
to points difference.
Coming down to scoring average. And whatever had happened, we got to play second. So we knew, again, a bit of luck, we knew what we had to win by. So Route 1, Jack Charlton style, straight down to Shane Hennessy.
So you're going for goals from the throw-in.
Yeah, and Shane scored 11-3 or 11-4. So we had to make sure just to show up shop at the back. I was full back, Eddie Campbell was centre. You know, a lot of young lads beside, isn't that? And
what you win by?
So we won by something like that, a little bit under 40, I'd say. But we barely got there in the last probably 5 minutes. But it was just amazing. And, you know, even what happened even between the middle game, so it was all the same day. So the middle game against Kilmallock, like Andrew Shaughnessy would have been a really small young guy on that one, corner forward. And, you know, I think Jerry O'D, one of our lads, held him scoreless, which, you know, is still a proud achievement for Jerry and his family. I don't think anyone scored off him in that Fela. But going into that last one, there was a couple of sending offs in our match versus Kilmallock. So they were out first, and their guys played. So if they didn't play, we probably wouldn't have played our main lads that got sent off. And so they played, so our lads played, and we won. So I went on, won the final, and Fraggy from Cork there, Kieran Murphy, Ashling. So himself and Cousin would have been the main lads for that Sarsfield team at the time. And there was a guy centre back, Goggins. He was unreal. He didn't play senior after, I don't think. He played a bit underage, alright, but yeah, we got there with the skin of our teeth in the final. Like.
I've been lucky enough, particularly my days as a GA reporter back in the day, to speak to like all the great hurlers of the last 20, 25 years. And they're all different people, different characters. They all have different drivers. But honestly, I don't think I've ever met someone who loves hurling more than you. Honestly, I don't. I would like. There's a grow that you have for it, and even we had Patrick Horgan in that seat in the last season of the Square Ball, and you could feel it just radiating from how much he just loves hurling. He was talking about regripping his hurl, and it sounded like he was an ace craftsman going through it bit by bit. But just here, like when you're on off the ball, when you're doing your first intro to a big day at Croke Park, you just need to put down whatever you're doing. And here's Tommy Walsh with his 5-minute monologue that you've clearly written and thought about before you came in. It's obviously comes from deep within you. Like what is the foundation stone of that?
Yeah, well, listen, my grandfather, like Paddy Grace, my mother's father, like he was secretary of the Kilkenny County Board for over 30 years, like, and the players loved him. Like, you know, they still would come up to me to today to tell him how much Paddy Grace meant to him and what he did for him. He was a players man, like, and and I'm talking about players of the year, the Eddie Kerry era, you know, Mick Cloney Brennan, Chunky O'Brien, Noel Skeen, all those guys, you know. Just they adored him, and because same probably thing, just loved the game. Like say when young fellas were coming out into the field, like I've often told that story at half time, and they're trying to take him off him, he would stop it, let him on, because he said without those guys out there, and he pointed to county lads coming out after half time, we won't have those guys. So he was probably, you know, and he was that time the secretary of the county board gave out all the tickets, and like, if you deserve the ticket, you got a ticket off him, is the way the story goes. And if you're
so would you have met you would have been around all these guys, like the likes of Kerr and Noel Skeen, obviously you're
no,
you wouldn't have met them when you were coming up.
Because he died a year or two after I was born, so I wouldn't have been around that setup. But it kind of passes down through the blood, because it would have passed down through my mother down to me. So, and all the lads. And then my father's side then, like Daddy hurled till he was 42 or 43. So say when I was 5 years of age in 1988, they won the intermediate. So we were like, you know, back in the old, say, hurling, you know, pre the 50s and 60s, like we were the top dogs, like up as far as 1958, I think we had 19 county championships. And then obviously, you know, numbers started to dwindle, and went down junior and that, so came up junior, came up intermediate in 88 when I was 5. So if you think the success, and then got to a senior county final 92, won it in 94. So when I was coming up through an age where I was most influenced, I was living in the hurling field, surrounded by my gods, I suppose. And when I talk about the game, like, see, I was never in love with the stats or the, you know, setting goals or doing so much in the gym and all these little individual things. I just loved everything about all of the game. Like, say, when I was a young fella going down to those matches, Johnny Walton, say, our chairman now, his father, he would have been one of the main lads out giving out tea and biscuits. And, you know, I know they do it now, team bonding or team building, you know, providing this stuff after training. But back then, it was only when he got to the championship, the dark evens. But the young lads, we be in. And you could imagine it now running around probably causing chaos. There was always tea for us. There was always biscuits. Even though they were having their, you know, probably meetings and that. So everything about it was unbelievable. And then they might send you off to try and find a bottle of 7-Up, spill out whatever's in it and fill up a fresh bottle of water. So you thought you were a great lad helping out the senior team. And so that's probably where it was instilled in myself. Like, I can only remember missing one match. Tullerone played Greg Namana inside in the park, I'd say it was. And I wasn't brought to it. Do you know?
So if you can imagine, been bowled or something, were you been punished?
No, I think my mother and father might be going out that night, staying in Kilkenny. So if you can remember missing one match, like, you know, that probably tells its own story. Like back then when you went to a match, you played. If there was 5 from Tullerone there and there was 5 there from Freshford, you had a match, you know, between you and them
at half time.
No, on the side of the pitch.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Because you know, I know they wouldn't believe now the jumpers and all them stories, but they were, you know, they were so true. And so they were unreal. And sometimes you could have 5 versus 20, you know. So, and you'd be just hoping Shane Headsley was at the match.
Yeah, those stories are incredible, and I'm not sure it happens anymore. Even in somewhere like a Kilkenny, where the old story, the kids are still walking around with their hurls in their hand the whole time. And I say to my 2 who are up and coming hurlers, do you know, if you were in Kilkenny and you were walking to school this morning, I'd have your bag, but you'd have your hurl in your hand and you'd be tapping the ball away to yourself on your way down. And I don't know if it happens as much as it used to do.
It kind of comes with success. Do you know, like, for yourself, it was the Kilkennys in your time, and, you know, then it was the Limericks. And, do you know, from what I see anyway, like, obviously my partner's Darren, he plays for Limerick, and being around Limerick City, you'd see in the last few years, like, it's just Limerick here everywhere, hurleys everywhere. I think that kind of comes with success, like, do you know, it's similar to your career and how you were so engulfed with it and your family. I think, do you know, that's very important in terms of...
You should get swept along by it, like,
that's
tradition
where the love
and pedigree.
comes from, is success, like, and especially at a young age, so, you know...
I'm not sure we'll ever get that in Dublin, where there's that many.
Yeah, it was like Dublin football
hurls.
when they were winning. Like, it was everywhere. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's hard. It's hard, particularly in those non-traditional counties, to try and get that grow, the one that you talk about there, to kind of get it enveloping the juveniles and the clubs around Dublin. I want to kind of fast forward a bit, because you obviously achieved a great deal as a junior and a juvenile, and you won that All-Ireland colleges and you won the Féile as well, but you're still only a nipper when Brian Cody brings you into the squad in 2002. Now, I know you didn't play that year when they won their first All-Ireland. It probably, was it 9 years since 93? And it was a bit of a drought in Kilkenny. Like, was there a bit of desperation and pressure around that squad? Not that there was any of it on you, because there was no expectation on you.
Yeah.
But that group...
Well, it was 2 years previous was the pressure to win.
2000 they won, yeah.
So I wasn't there in 2000, but there was definitely huge pressure there, because, like, you're talking about 3 in a row. Kilkenny were going to lose 3 in a row All-Ireland finals in 2000. So the pressure was huge on those players, and they got over the line in that final. So back then, 2001, Galway, you know, took us in a semi-final when we were fantastic in the Leinster Championship, and that probably was, you know, the starting point of Brian Cody's obsession with getting the spirit right and getting the attitude right, that we would never be beaten where maybe it was unexpected again. We'd be just outplayed or out-hurled or not out-fought, but outplayed on the day.
Because they would have been favourites in that final defeat to Cork in 99, obviously beat Offaly, a kind of an Offaly team that was in its last breath in 2000, and you were favourites in 2001 against Galway. So he was thinking, every time we're expected to win now, we win. So we have to do whatever we need to do to make sure that it doesn't happen.
that's it. And get the attitude right from November, December, January, whenever you go back. You wouldn't just try and get it right 2 or 3 weeks before an All-Ireland final or All-Ireland semi-final. So 2002 was the start in of that new breed that came together. They were after winning under 21 in 1999. So you had Derek Ling, who at the time gave up a great opportunity employment-wise farther up the country to stay local and just be part of the panel and try and make it. He went on to have a fantastic career after that. Michael Kavanagh was there a couple of years, but was still part of that crew. So Henry Shefflin, Sean Dowland, there was a load of them, Richie Mullally, all around the one age. So they were probably you see Tipperary coming out with all the young players. That was our time to come with young players. And they definitely were great players to lead the future because their attitudes were unbelievable. And I came in 2002, 19 years of age. I suppose minor the year before. Again, lucky and unlucky in the fact that we had got beaten by Wexford in a Leinster under-21 semi-final with a last-minute goal. And, I probably was one of the better players on the day. So we were out of it. So who do you call up? Who played well in the last match? If they probably had to look at it over a season, possibly not. And that was it, Jay. In for the All-Ireland semi-final. Myself and DJ came back for the semi-final. As DJ was after retiring, you see. So he came back.
So you were only brought in that late?
Yeah, came in for the
It wasn't
All-Ireland
like you were knocking
semi-final.
around for the league and just hoping for a bit of game time. That was your first time in the panel, was an All-Ireland semi-final.
First time in, a couple of weeks before that. So, I was going in then, with your gods, you have DJ, Charlie Carter, Peter Barry, Andy Comfort. Just when talking with men of character,
Was there any prospect of game time in those 2 matches for you? Even an outside chance was in the back of your mind, I could get on here?
Yeah, there would have been, but I just didn't hurl well enough. Probably Philly Larkin was cornerback. I was kind of in that kind of cornerback. And Philly Larkin and Mick Kavanagh just were hurling the lights out, when it came to the big games. And they were insane in them 2 semi-finals. So I don't think I wouldn't have even probably been the first sub on after a while, because you go in for the first few sessions and you're flying it, then it's survival time. So that's when you're marking the likes of Charlie and Diarmaid McAvoy from Munkind, and you're just surviving really train to train. So I'd say not.
You were a similar age when you went into the Cork panel for the first time, and you were up against legends of the Cork camogie scene. Is there an element of imposter syndrome, or do you have to just convince yourself, trick yourself into thinking, no, I am good enough to be here, and start laying down markers? Because Brian Cody wanted to see you throwing your weight around.
I don't think I ever had a fear in terms of going in there, and obviously, again, you're looking at your idols, but at the same time, I always believed I had, the skill set, I had it going in there, but then I was thrown into a game, and that's kind of when you realise where you're at, in terms of physicality, even mentally as well. And I think my first game was actually against Kilkenny, and I was marking Elaine Aylward, and she's tall girl, and I actually would have been much smaller even at that age, and I knew that I was kind of completely out of my depth, and I was facing into my leaving cert, and I don't know, something just said to me that I just don't think I'm ready for it yet, and it wasn't just one game. I did a good few sessions and things like that, but just wasn't overly comfortable in the environment either, because I wouldn't have been the most social person exactly, at that age too. So I think the social aspect of it, and again, just being out of my depth, I just thought for myself it would have been best just to step away and kind of get more experience at lower levels, and with my club, and go back then when the time is right, So
it took Ashling a while to settle in, and obviously it came together for you.
Would it ever have been like that for you?
No, I would say no. No, I was okay in that sense. I never minded going into new settings, from the social side of it, to be no problem.
And how would the players feel about you coming in then as well? I feel it's different with females.
Yeah, maybe. Now listen, I don't know, but
because it's an established panel, you're there to take someone's spot.
Yeah. But such a small county, you nearly knew everyone, even though that you were young. But it probably came down from management too. Brian spirit was just number one. So if you're acting in any way against that, you probably wouldn't be in there. So every player, whether they're 30 years of age or 19, you nearly felt like you were one of them.
Yeah.
So we never felt. Now we always had holidays as well every year. So, and we had nights out after games. So we probably got to see a lot of each other in all sorts of settings. So there was definitely never a problem from 2002 when I went in to when I left in 2014. As far as young lads and older lads, just mixed.
Yeah.
It's just part of the way it was. And used to help as well in that the first seat you sat in the dressing room was where you sat forever.
yeah.
So you're definitely going to become friends with whoever was 2 or 3 to the right or left of you.
Yeah.
And even I always felt even the hurling teams you're up against, when we went to play, we often played Railway Cups in Boston and Dubai and played shinties up the north or in Clare or over in Scotland. The hurling lads, you're nearly always just the same once you're on the same team. Obviously when you went out against each other, it was no one liked each other. But once you were in that scene, like we always felt we were the one. It's probably it was a smaller kind of a community. So no, definitely I think spirit was number one, and everyone looked after each other. And like you think of the players that were just a couple of years ahead of me, that was Henry, Derek Ling, Mick Kavanagh. Do you know, like still to this day even, do you know, if you meet them you're like great friends.
Yeah.
Pick up where you left off 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
And I can't say it would have been the same for us, do you know.
Yeah.
So that's Brian Cody, the way he approached it, like that's what made it so special.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, that's important. And you settled in then really quickly, obviously, you winning the back-to-back All-Ireland the following year. Talk to me just briefly about that kind of 3-week spell where you win All-Ireland Senior and All-Ireland Under-21 medals within 6 days of each other, but you hadn't done any training. Was it a hip issue you had or something in the build-up to the 2003 final? And yet you scored 3 points in play in the first 25 minutes of the opening half against Cork in that 2003 decider. Like, that must have been a nerve-wracking experience, was it? Like your first final on the field of play and you can't train.
Yeah, well, the nerve-wracking experience was when the team was going to be picked. So again, like Brian Cody was a primary school teacher in St. Patrick's de la Salle, and who they'd be normally an A team. And because we were pretty good at the time, primary schools, we used to come up against de la Salle a good bit. So whether that was at 7-a-side level or or the normal primary school Ryan A championship. So we knew each other pretty well, even though there was a big age gap. And like his father, Bill, and my grandfather would have been very friendly as well. So like, without knowing each other, probably we did know each other. And you know, I always felt he had me back, do you know, that kind of a way. And once I was fit to play, and I know it was my first year there, the fact that he picked you then was just like, you have to die for this, man, you know, because I didn't train for 3 weeks for it. Got belt in the hip. I think I ran into Gorta in a training session in Nolan Park, and your hip just deadens. You can barely even walk. So it's just to get it right, as opposed to an ankle injury playing through it. So I came right, you know, a week or that before the All Ireland, and so once the team was picked, there was no pressure. It's like, off you go, and
like the first ball, the throw in literally runs to you.
Yeah.
And you've stuck it over the bar. I think is after like 8 seconds. You've all, like, what a better way to settle into a final. You're like, I've got me. Not only everyone wants an early touch.
Yeah.
In a big game, but you have that touch and you've turned and you've slung it over the bar.
Yeah.
It's game on now.
It was game on, yeah. And my game was following the ball anyway. But like, that's reading back 20 years later, and it seems brilliant. But it was actually a tough final for me. I was taken off after 45 minutes, I'd say. And what happened was Crow Park was the new field, you know, that time, and you had to make sure you got your boots right. But I always wore multi stud boots, because pace was never my thing. It was more fitness and getting around the place. So I always felt the multi studs helped you go around faster. You had the Puma Kings and the Copa Mundials. They were the two main ones. And but before that final, then, because it's a final, I wore cogs, and my legs were just dead after 15-20 minutes. Couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. And even I went in corner forward, still couldn't really move. And so I went in at half time, changed my boots, and I was flying around the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I was taken off. So, you know, so it was brilliant in that you got your All-Ireland medal and you won, and from a team point of view, but definitely hugely disappointing as well to be taken off, because, you know, that's your dream, like, is to just finish it out and play.
Yeah.
Would you say the wind feels the same when you finish on the bench?
Well, sure, like, no.
Yeah. Honest. Yeah.
You know,
Were you considering
like-
lying in that answer there?
there's so many different emotions. Like, so your first, I suppose, goal is to win the match,
Yeah.
as you know, Ashling. Your probably nearly equal goal is to be man of the match.
Yeah,
you know, and that's not to pick up the award, just to be the best player.
That's to get the performance.
And then
like, yeah.
the dream is both, like.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, definitely you take winning over playing well.
Yeah.
But you don't want to win, you know, 9, we'll say, All-Irelands and be terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly,
either.
yeah.
So you want both of them. That's being greedy about it, and that's being selfish about it. But that's where you need to be. That's the headspace you need to be in.
Definitely.
So, so that was it, Dave. So I suppose won under 21 in a couple of weeks later, and I suppose the goal the whole following year was, there was a thing back that time, second yearitis, like, your second year you're never as good. So that was the goal, was that I wouldn't have the second yearitis. And remember, you know, Brian probably wouldn't even remember this, but up in the All-Star night later on that November, late on the night, and like, Brian was great to interact with off season, you know, when he didn't have his game face on, and he just said to me up that night, listen, you want to be back here again next year. So it wasn't, you know, how are you getting on, and it's lovely to be up here. It was like, get back trained and be back here.
He's working the room, like, even that late in the year, he's already got an eye on what's coming down the track.
Yeah, with no psychology other than,
Of course it's
that come
psychology.
natural to
What
him,
else
though.
is it?
As in premeditate. I'd say, no, you're right, but I'd say that it came natural to him. That here's the young lad after winning, you know, his first All-Ireland and first All-Star. Let's make sure he's back again. And he's looking out for you too, like, because he knows it means everything to you as well, like, and I'm sure he was the same with the rest of the lads as well, but, you know, like, yeah, that was the way it was.
So Cork are obviously become the new standard bearers. They win the next 2 All-Irelands, that brilliant team. It's, I mean, the names just roll off the tongue, and that's the sort of Cork team that you would have grown up with, Ashling. So they stopped you doing the 3 in a row in 2004, and the roles are reversed then 2 years later. You guys are trying to stop them doing the 3 in a row. What was your feeling about that Cork team? Because there's been books written and articles written, and the Stepford Wives comment that was thrown out one time, and obviously they were an incredibly headstrong bunch that had gone on strike in 2002 to get stuff that was justifiably due to them, and they were the best team in the country. They seemed to be, there was a perception that they were leading the way when it came to S&C and psychology and training and everything that went into being as professional as an outfit as you could be in the amateur era. But you guys didn't really like them, or did you? Was that just...
Well, we
The
didn't really
media.
like anyone. You know, that was your rivals. We didn't. Like, you had the Cork team, you had the Tipperary team that came after that, the Watford team there as well at the same time. No matter who you were playing, like, if they were your rivals, you couldn't allow yourself to like them. So we, you know, well, I liked nobody, you know, when I was playing against them, to be honest. But off the field, then, like, it all goes out the window. Like,
Even with that Cork team, though, was there not you guys looking down your noses at them? Who do they think they are? And they think they're all this and they're all that, and they'd never step out of line.
no, they were different. Absolutely, they were different in that we believed in the game was you train hard 3 or 4 times a week, and, you know, that was it. You turned up just ready to go. Whereas they were bringing in, as you said, dietary plans, gym programs, you know, Ger Hartman was involved with them. So it was all this extra professional. So it was so different than the way we were approaching it. But, like, as you see, everyone slowly came around to that way of thinking. But definitely on the field, they were huge rivals. There's no doubt about it. Like, they were so strong-headed as well, like, you know, so there was never going to be, you know, you win, clap you on the back, hugs all around. It was like, let's fight this out till it's over, and after that we can all become friends. I think that's generally the way it actually did become. Like, you know, I was watching Ben and Jerry's Laker Gale the other day, like, it was unbelievable, you know, watching back. And I even said to the lads at home, like, it's a pity, like, they didn't come out with maybe them interviews at the time, and you can just see that they're every bit probably the same as us.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a little bit of a different approach, all right. But no, there was the only difference between the two teams then was we were winning All Irelands. Then they came back and they started winning All Irelands. So it's like, it's the two of us, the big dogs, and
they haven't won one since.
Yeah, well, listen,
come close a few times.
That's not on their back. Like they won as much as they could at the time, and we're unlucky probably not to win a few more as well. So, like, they were super. Like, the half back line of Gardner, Curran, and Sean Oak, like, was, that was the launch pad for him. You had the rock full back, Jerry and Tom Kenny, like, was in college with Tom. Like, again, he would have been like that whole team, professional to the last, and I seen that first hand in college. I knew he was as genuine as they come. Up front then, sure you had, Niall McCarthy, great battles with Niall. Even the likes of Alan Brown, sure Brian Corcoran, like, in his later years ended up full forward. So there's no doubt about it. They were an unbelievable team, but we didn't dislike them more than we disliked anyone else, really, to be honest.
Yeah. That's fair. You're equally discriminatory towards all of your opponents. So that win in 06 obviously just kicks off this extraordinary run. Comfortable win over Limerick in 2007, even though it was a day in which Henry tore his ACL. And then the Waterford final the following year. And I was living in Waterford at the time as a reporter, and just the hype around that game was like unlike anything that I'd ever experienced in any county before. And it's a Kilkenny team going for the 3 in a row was at the time, but it's been described as the most complete performance in the history of All-Ireland hurling finals. I think you're 17 up at half time, so you can really enjoy the second half. What was that second half like for you guys and for you, knowing that this final's done? When you think of the tension in the 06 final, in comparison, it must have been an unbelievable place to be, a full Croke Park, and you can enjoy every puck, every minute of the second half.
Yeah, sure. Again, Dave, it's so different as well. Like, when you're in the middle of a game that's point for point is insane as well. Like, there's no pressure there either at that stage of a game because you don't have time to think. You're just thinking, when's this next ball coming down? Where's it going to go? I need to get there. Towards in probably a game like that, you probably have more time to think and enjoy probably the last 15, 20 minutes. But there's plenty of time for that afterwards. So I would never look back on some of those games. I'd love to have won them all like that. There's no better feeling than like when you win a ball and there's 5 minutes left and the place is full with 80,000 people and you come out with the ball and the whole of Croke Park gets to their feet. Like, there's no greater feeling than that.
When the game is like close.
When the game is in the melting pot.
You make a big play.
So, yeah, you were one of the lads, like, Noel Hickey or Mick Kavanagh or Jackie, like, comes out, shoulders 3 or 4 lads and drives the ball down the field. Like, they're the feelings, like, And, if you drive a long ball down and we'll say Henry catches it or Richie Power catches it or Owen Larkin, like, the whole Kilkenny then is just on their feet, they're roaring. You can hear that on the field. You can never hear what's being said, but you can definitely hear the roars. And that's one thing you would miss, is those moments. So 2008 then was that bit different in that we were going for 3 in a row. And at that time, 3 in a row wasn't really done. The time, I'd say, to go back to probably the Cork team of the 70s, maybe in the 40s. And so we got there, but it was no more special than any of the rest of them. Like, you take 7 was the 2 in a row, like 6 was special. I say 6 and probably 11 were the 2 special finals because we were after being beaten the years before that. So there's nothing as bad, there's nothing as nice as when you're after being beaten, that hunger to come back.
Getting over the line.
And then getting over the line. They're the special ones.
Yeah.
Because when you compare that to the tension of the 09 final and the late goals from Comerford and the penalty from Henry, and I always remember, for some reason, the most memorable part of that final is the interview afterwards between Marty Morrissey and Brian Cody about the penalty. And Cody doesn't look like a guy who's just managed the 4 in a row.
Yeah.
He's bristling and he's prickly with Marty, and he's obviously got a bee in his bonnet about something. And was it that he felt talking about the referee was just immediately taking away from what his team had just achieved? Why was he so angry?
Yeah, so I don't know, but I would imagine that was it. That year, like, we were probably coming in for a bit of criticism. That was starting to come with playing on the edge, and so I'm sure that was probably building, and maybe when probably, like, we're after beating Tipperary, you know, it'd be easy to look at those games and think Kilkenny had always beaten Tipperary, but we hadn't. Like up as far as say 2002, Tipperary were definitely holding the. You know, they were beating us most times. They bet us in the 60s, that great Tipperary 60s team. I know we beat them as well, but they beat us in 91 All-Ireland final. So we were only starting to turn it then at this stage, 2002, you know, around those years. So this was the first All-Ireland final since 91, probably first then since the 60s, I would imagine, you know, before that. And we're after beating Tipperary, and, you know, he was probably hoping for maybe a congratulatory question.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing him, just doing interviews in general, and he always says, like, let's say if Kilkenny were ever beaten, like, he'd always, and people might bring it back to the officiating or referees, and he always said, like, you find a way to win, no matter what way. You know, so I think just in general bringing up referees probably is just
no excuses.
It's one of the great post-match interviews, and it's after a final which he's won, and it's the 4 in a row. Yeah. It's historic, like, and he's still got a bee in his bonnet about the line of questioning. Yeah. So look, that brings us, this rivalry is starting to develop now, and it's really bubbling up. It's a great time for anyone who loves hurling and loves these kind of the acrimony that comes when two teams are they're going for the same thing, and they'll kill each other to get there. And it brings us to 2010 and the build up to the 5 in a row. The 5 in a row was obviously on people's lips from the moment that 09 final ended. It was something that had never been achieved before. So it was already going to be this kind of melting pot of emotions and storylines. And then you throw in the two cruciates, Henry and John Tennyson, and somehow they both rock up to training on the week of the final. And I was there that night, and it must have been 10,000 people in Nolan Park. Like, these open sessions, it's almost unheard of now. And Henry, unbeknownst to anybody, I'm sure, bar you guys, comes out with a plaster practically around his knee. And his cruciate is torn. And Tennyson is on the field as well. What was your first knowledge of Henry's conditioning when it came to the possibility that he actually might play that game?
Yeah, well, we always knew he had a chance because he was working with Seven John were working with Ger Hartman
up in Santry.
Don't know where Ger is. Thought he was down in Limerick, but he could have been up in Santry as well, maybe. But they were working with him as regards the physio, just straightening it back up, and probably a lot of psychology, I'd say, more than anything. And like John Tennyson actually got through that final, which was probably lost on a lot of people because Henry done his. You know, it looked like it was, you know, probably shouldn't have played, but definitely I would have played him, like, if I was picking the team. And so we found out, I'd say, same as everyone, probably that training session. So it was always built up that any injury, you got to the last second, you got your chance to play, and if you could, you know, go out and tug out for that 15 on 15, you'd be playing. So he obviously got through it.
Was it a distraction, though, allied to the whole 5 in a row talk and thousands of people at training? And
yeah, I don't know what the other players feel about it, but I definitely didn't think so, because the 3 in a row was a distraction in 2004. So we were going for the 3 in a row, which was, as I said, was rarely done before that. And we definitely got, you know, lost in that whole talk, kind of as putting it to the side or not talking about it or afraid to talk about it. So we learned from that. So we won that in 08 and 09, 4 in a row. Like, the 5 in a row didn't mean nothing to me as regards achievements, and I still wouldn't lose any sleep over losing the 5 in a row. Not one.
A historian of the game. Like, you're able to rattle off all these dates and finals and players you played in certain years. The 5 in a row and the substance of that wouldn't have been lost on someone like you.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it is genuinely. It hurts me that we lost Tipperary in All-Ireland final. Absolutely.
But just on an individual annual thing, not the fact that it was the 5 in a row.
Yeah, wouldn't cost me.
Because you hear Kerry people talk about 82.
Yeah.
Still kills them.
Still kills them, yeah. You'd see the hurt in the likes of Pat Spillane, a few of them they're talking about. And maybe other Kilkenny players could be different, you know, but don't know why, to be honest. It should, I suppose, now that you say it. Maybe I may start regretting it, maybe. She's been a great chance. Yeah,
but that's a good thing, though, like, that you're not cut up about.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, if you hadn't got back again, maybe the 5 in a row really would be gnawing at you since, but you go back and you win the next 2 after that, and ultimately it's a period of time where you win 6 and 7, as opposed to having having not won the 5.
You have to be
Yeah, do you know what? I'd
grateful,
say you're probably right about that. Maybe the fact that we came back and won the All-Ireland the following year just makes the hurt seem like we had to go through it. Do you know, because everyone speaks about hurt and that you have to lose one to win one. And so
Because
like,
Tip played with hurt that day.
well, yeah, they did. Now, in fairness to him, the hurl hurt the previous year as well. PJ Ryan was unbelievable. So PJ Ryan was man of the match in the All-Ireland final.
Save he made in that game was just
I made 4 or 5 of them. I often thank him when I see him. You know, I say thanks PJ for that All-Ireland medal. You know, because I wouldn't have it without him. And so 10, yeah. Listen, but they learned as well. Instead of going to PJ's good side, they went to his other side when they were going for goal. Like if you see all the shots they took on PJ in the first All-Ireland, they went over to his, you know, his saving side, his strong side. But in the following final, then they went to the other side every single time. So they learned from their mistakes. They probably watched a bit of footage. Probably they had it in their memory banks probably from the year before. But yeah, no, that was 2010 was it was their day.
And in 2011, you're so hyped up that you're not only baiting Tip lads, you're actually baiting the referee open as well. Talk to our listeners and our viewers about that incident, because it's obviously unfortunate for the referee, but it's one of the comedic moments of the GA over the last 15 years.
Yeah, lucky again. So, yeah, like sure, Brian came to me about 5 minutes before that and said, the referee's giving us nothing, you need to do something about it. I don't think he meant that. So I took him literally.
You wouldn't do that now.
No, geez, you could get 6 months in prison now for it.
Talk us through that moment, because there's obviously a skirmish, there's a bit of after, there's a bit of verbals, bit of pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
Next of all, the referee's nose is split open.
Yeah, so like the time that I was in it, like pushing and shoving and jostling, that was part of the game, like, and everyone kind of enjoyed it, players and supporters alike. There was a very few dirty belts ever given in it. It was more, you know, there's probably guys just releasing a bit of tension really. And I'd never seen in all my years that dangerous and any of them kind of things. So that was kind of going on between us and Tip. I suppose Tip were absolutely flying it. Like, I know they won the All-Ireland the year before, but I think they scored 7 goals in the Munster final that year. Brilliant in the semi-final as well. They played Dublin in the semi-final that year. And that was the only All-Ireland semi-final I went as a spectator, just to see what kind of way they were moving. But in the final then, sure, there was a lot of tension there. And, like, you know, we were getting to know each other. And, you know, I was probably trying to get to know one of the Tipperary lads, and the hurl went a little bit scaways on me, you know, and hit the ref. And straight away, I suppose, the first feeling is, oh my God. It was like, oh no. So you're trying to walk around, probably heading the ground, and just hopefully just throws back in the ball quick and we get on with it. And then when you see doctors coming in and all that, you're like, hopefully no one says that to him. So
Owen Kelly did, didn't he?
well, he was trying to, I think, wasn't he?
So he's trying to ratchet out.
I think they
fecker.
didn't, the Tipperary lads give him a doing over that as well after. So they had your back.
But you would. I mean, one of your opponent's best players, you know, it's an All-Ireland final. Make sure the ref knows
Tommy
that the lad who
Walsh
opened him
sent
up is a
off,
cat.
Yeah.
So did you have genuine fear in that moment you were going to get sent off?
Oh yeah, because you just don't know what a referee like. But as I said, I was so lucky it was Brian Gavin, because I always say, like, you have to use your common sense. And like, Brian Gavin was a hurling man. Like, he was, you know, chairman of the Clara and inside Knofley, big into hurling, big into the GAA. He knew what it was all about. So he didn't referee out of a technical rule book.
Yeah.
Because if you were to rule out of a technical rule book, or referee out of a technical rule book, should it be a free every second? Do you know what I mean? He knew the way the game was played, and he knew if something was being done nasty or if it was done mistakes, you know, if there was mistakes. And I'd say he just said, listen, there was a you know, he probably didn't really know, but he said, let's just get on with it. And that's the way hurling people like it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know a lot of others wouldn't be mad about that. And
But he obviously would have known it was an accident. And
yeah, so I say, let's just get on with it.
Yeah.
But if you had a sticky referee there, you were gone.
yeah.
Do you know, opens up the notebook and you're gone. Like,
Who were you going for? Who were you?
Better not say that. I'll wait till there's 25 years you have to wait.
Yeah. Statute of limitations. There's so much more I wanted to get into with you. I mean, you obviously come back and beat Galway after a replay, and it's a brilliant 2012 championship where Henry's at his absolute peak.
Yeah.
And Lars following you around Croke Park with like a loved up puppy, which is again one of the most unusual spectacles we've seen around Croke Park in recent years. But I want to move into a bit of detail on your final year and 2014. And I was going through the record books. You made 3 appearances in the Leinster Championship that year, 2 as a sub, 1 start. It was the Leinster semi-final replay against Galway, was it?
Yeah.
But from that semi-final on, all the way to the end, full-time whistle in the All-Ireland, you don't play a single minute. Now, I can't imagine what that's like for someone who is, as you said earlier, from the first game of 2003 onwards. If you're available, you start.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Yeah, sure. Listen, it was tough. Like 2002 when I went in, as I said, it was a sub for the semi-final and final. So I always count those 2 games very lucky in that you always think, geez, when you love to be on a Kilkenny panel or Cork panel or wherever, and win an All-Ireland title, that you wouldn't need anything else in your life. But I found out then after them 2 All-Irelands, you're glad to be on the panel the first day, then you want to be playing, or come on or whatever. So I had that out in my system, winning the medal. Now it was all about playing. So played every day then until 2014. And like before that then, we went back training, I'd say in November that year. And we were training from then till I think it was May, probably 6 or 7 months. I played 1 game. So I had my mind made up. And I'd say
So you're an
April.
unused sub throughout the league for the most part.
Yeah, I was taken off at half-time twice against Tipperary and against Dublin.
And were you playing really badly?
Well, the team was getting bet by 9 points, I'd say, both times. And I wasn't hurling well. So if we had to be winning by 9 points, I might have got away with it.
Yeah.
But, so no, listen, like, I had no complaints really. To be honest, I had no complaints. Like, Brian Cody, I worshipped him at the time. Like, so I kind of trusted everything he kind of said or did, because I felt he did that to me for so long. So, wasn't being picked, but once I wasn't playing, like, I had my mind made up in April, that's it.
And coming to the year previous then, like coming to the end of that year, did you feel like that was ever going to be your reality, like the following season?
You did start every game the previous year.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it coming at all.
So that was a quick turnaround, like.
Yeah, no, it was.
So you're saying in April you decided, this is it, I'm done.
Yeah, during the league there. I'd say it was a league final, let's say.
That's incredible.
Well, I just did, like, I even said if I start every championship game, I'm gone. In my head.
But you're only 31.
Yeah, well, I didn't, as I told you, like you were saying that
in fact, you're 30 at the time. Your birthday's May, isn't it?
Well, May,
so you're 30 at the time.
Yeah. But like it goes back to your first question about loving the game. Like, I love playing the game and everything about the game, but didn't like training to be a sub.
See, did you feel in that championship, particularly once you got past the Leinster Championship, there's no, I'm not going to be getting on here, like? You didn't, because other people think it only takes 1 injury and I'm in.
Yeah, no, I never thought that. I always think there's a chance. Like, I thought I was gone at one stage and I came back for that semi-final against Galway. But
and how did you play that day?
See, I came on the first day, and it was so funny. Like, I remember the league, came on the league against Clare, and remember one of the selectors, he said to me, like, because I'd be psyched up going on, so take it handy out there now, don't, as in don't do that. And so the first ball I went for, I think I was knocked to the ground. One of the Clare players was down shouting at me, so I jumped up and kind of half punched him, like, and looked like I was going to be sent off, but I didn't. And remember Brian taking me aside there after the following week, and he said, what did the selector tell you before you went on against Clare? And like, I just said, try and score a pint, or
should have lied and said he told me to punch someone.
So he said, well, I don't know. And well, he said, listen, you can't be doing that. So like, you have to calm down. So when I came on then in that Leinster semi-final the first day, it was up in Tullamore. I remember there's a picture of it even, like, where Brian is giving me advice, and that's what he was telling me again. Go on now, you know what I mean? Don't go mad. And it's all in my head was, just look real calm here now, but when you go out here, you're going mad. Just go mad around after the ball. So I played really well and started the next day then and was poor. I was on, I think it was the Italian half back. That was the end of it. I took off after 40 minutes. So I was back up in the forwards at this stage. But I was never I wasn't good enough for the forwards with Kilkenny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
but did you feel that your powers were on the wane? Like, did you acknowledge that you were not as good a hurler in 2014 as you were in 2007?
Well, I felt that like there's a group of us were all hitting 30, 31, 32. And
just isn't old.
No, but probably not. Like after losing the year before, so I knew there was probably going to be changes this later on. So I knew to be some of us wouldn't be playing. So I remember Brian Hogan talking to him early in the campaign. Now he got back and made the championship team for a long time.
Because Henry's in the same boat. You're on the bench with him as well.
Yeah, he probably would have had a lot of injuries. Henry, if he was probably fit, he would have been playing.
Okay.
But Brian Hogan was unbelievable. Like he'd be telling you, he was what Brian Cody was to me when I was playing. Brian Hogan, I'd say, was to me when I was a sub. No, you're good enough. Why are you thinking like that for? He made you feel that you should be playing. And but that was Brian Hogan. Brian Hogan. That was the power of the team and everyone together. Like I always felt Hoagie when he was mostly centre back. Either him or John Tenson beside me. And I always felt Hoagie he was like the big brother you never had. Like he always thought you were unreal. He always thought someone else was in the wrong, that you were brilliant, and if you were playing bad,
like that.
you need someone like that.
Is he also saying the same thing to the lad who's taken your place, though?
Yeah, and I'd have no problem with that. I'd have no problem with that because you're kind of with him. You're with him, and I remember when he was made captain in 0-11, and even 12 with Larky. Like that was a huge drive for me. Two of them, they're two of me very good friends. To see them lifting to Lee McCarthy because, like Hoagie, like talk about Henry in 2012. Brian Hogan was equally as good and could have got man of the match only for Henry was so good.
He's up there with the more underrated members of that great Kilkenny team, isn't he?
And I'd say Owen Larkin as well. Like we thought they were just incredible. Like when the big day came, they turned up, they survived, and they went above and beyond, and they steadied the ship. There was other few of us might get headlines. They probably should have got the headlines along with us, but they were quite kind of individuals anyway. But two of them were just unbelievable. Like, they won a lot of matches for us, the two lads. So so in 14, having a lad like that having your back probably helps. But at the same time as well, there were so many the Kilkenny guys were subs for a long time. Conor Fogarty, Lester Ryan, all these lads. Like you couldn't throw the rattle out of the pram because they were there for you. And so you weren't playing well all the time, and they were there backing you up. They were there being subs while you were getting the plaudits on the field and on the big days. So that was my only probably motivation then, was that you had to do for them what they did for you.
Yeah, Brian O'Driscoll always talks about that when he was left out of that last test by Warren Gatland in 2013. For 14 years, he was the man, and those lads were on the bench, never created any issues, always did whatever they could for the group to try and help them be successful. And now, on this day, that the shoe's on the other foot, he can't then very well turn around and throw a strop and be moping around the place and bringing the overall vibe of the group down. It was that kind of your attitude as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any talking to Cody though during that year? Like, can you go up to him and say, "Look, I appreciate I'm not where I was in terms of the pecking order. Where can I improve? What is it I have to reprove to you to get back into the team?" Is that a conversation that's plausible?
Yeah, it could happen. I'd say if you wanted it, but I didn't want it.
Why?
So just no interest. Like, you're
not desperate to get back into the team.
Yeah, like, did you ever feel there was a chance to not redeem yourself, but like, geez, if I work a bit harder, if I, find another way, and again, maybe have a conversation with Cody, like, was there ever that urge to make your way back? And
the urge was there to play,
yeah.
But not through talking. Like, it just felt you had to do it on the field, like,
it just wasn't there.
Well, I did. I went through periods where I was flying it, but just probably just not good enough to get on. But as I said to you, it probably all went back to there was times when I was hurling for the 12 or 13 years that I was on the team, that like I was picked for every Welsh Cup game, every league game. He knew that I wasn't there for championship only. So like, I just believed in him totally. Like, do you know what I mean? So if he said you were good enough to play, I was willing to play. And it's probably just thanks for always picking me, But if I was still playing, I would have played till I was 40.
Yeah.
People talk to me retired. I don't think I retired. I think I was dropped, and then I stepped aside.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
I want to put this to you. In your Lake Regale episode, and anyone who hasn't watched it, any of our viewers or listeners, do. It's all up there on YouTube. It's just brilliant. This is a direct quote. It was very hard being dropped, but the one thing that made up for it was that Porrig played instead of me, this being Porrig Walsh, Tommy's younger brother. Now, I remember my younger brother being picked ahead of me on a Gaelic football team when we were a bit younger than you guys were, and I was disgusted. And I felt a little bit of embarrassment that like my baby brother was considered to be a better player than I was. Great for him and all, but I wanted to be on the team with him.
Yeah.
Was that a genuine quote or is that bullshit?
Oh no, that's genuine because listen, sure, I was coming to the end anyway. Maybe it would have been different if I was 21 or 22.
I was 12.
Well, I probably would have had the same feeling as you when I was 12. 100%. I wasn't Mother Teresa or anything. So, yeah. Well, I knew he was as obsessed with it as I was. So, like, and he was probably, he's 1996, so I know what that makes him in 2012.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was 2014.
Yeah.
So, sure, what age
He's a young fella.
Well, he's
22.
young anyway.
22, yeah.
He's 22, yeah. So it's about time for him to start making it. So at that age, and he was...
26 he would have been, sorry. We're completely getting the maths wrong. Anyway, he was at his peak and he was ready for his time.
Yeah. I could have his day of birth too. So
it was great for you to see him play, but it's killing you to the point where they win. It's the 2 in a row. Not that means much in Kilkenny in that era because there's a lot of lads who've won two in a row, but you don't even want to go out that night. The night of the homecoming, is it? The lads have to almost drag you out of the gaff.
Well, it's not like that either. So my daughter was due. So like she was born 2 or 3 weeks later.
Okay.
So I was out that night, but I just had to mind myself in case I had to drive Marlies to hospital the following day. So that was the only reason that I wasn't out that night. So I would have went out. Absolutely, but
okay, so there's more to that story than meets the eye.
So, in fairness to the lads that brought out the bus and all that, so that made the story even better. But
well, let's not discredit that
ruin
story.
A good story,
So you've won 9 medals. We always hear this thing about All Ireland medals being won on the field of play when it comes to talking about the greats. So the Kerry lads who won the 8, and then Cluxton, Fitzsimons, McCarthy. I'm leaving one of them out, that won the 9. Henry's 10, all on the field of play. But of your 9, only 7 were on the field of play. So we've already talked about O2. You weren't expecting to be on the field at all. Does the All Ireland in 2014 mean anything to you?
Oh, it does. Oh, Jesus, it does. They're nearly the hardest ones you won because what you had to go through and then maybe not be part of the plaudits, I suppose, or the claps on the back. So,
but did you feel you'd contributed to it? Like, because you said earlier, it wasn't the same being taken off 45 minutes into an All-Ireland final. It definitely diluted your sense of euphoria. So I can only imagine what it's like when you don't get on at all.
Yeah, but it's a different appreciation. Because you have to honour anybody that was ever a substitute. They did a lot to get there. To make a panel, whether that's Kilkenny or Cork or Tipperary or Limerick or Waterford or wherever it is. You do a lot to be on one of those panels. When you're 14 years of age, you think you'll ever be on the panel because you're going through all the different lads up through the age grades.
I think it's more so the emotion of the final whistle that doesn't feel the same. But the actual achievement of winning an All-Ireland always remains, because you're part of it.
I agree with that, Ashling, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a great way of putting it, and I couldn't have put it any way better, to be honest.
So in the aftermath, when everything settles down, you can develop an appreciation for it, but it's a fairly hollow feeling in the moment.
Yeah, when the whistle goes, you're just trying to, you're glad for your teammates. I suppose that's as best to put it.
When you're jumping around in the field after, you almost have to feign the excitement and the sense of ecstasy.
Oh, well, I didn't jump around.
You didn't make any effort to disguise how you were feeling.
I did enough. I just smiled.
Before we leave this, you're coming down a similar track, Ashling, just by virtue of what we do in the media. You get to your age, we just start writing you off. You're 35 now. People have been writing you off since you were 31. Yeah. That's unfortunately just the way it works. Doesn't matter how clearly you're still capable of delivering in the big days. But at some point, Tommy Fields, Cody retired him, as opposed to you releasing a statement at your peak and saying, I've had enough. Like Fenton, for example, has gone out as one of the greats, and he's still one of the greats. You're still like first choice in that Cork team, player of the match in last year's All-Ireland final. You're looking forward to another big championship campaign. Do you want to be retired, or do you want to be the person who's making the decision yourself and leave them wanting more?
Well, I suppose the ultimate goal, you could say, or, do you know, if I was to have it anyway, it would be to walk away at my peak, like, and not. But I suppose, do you know, comparing it to Tommy's, it's like not what you expected the following year, I guess, after starting every game the year previous. So that's not to say that that won't ever happen to me, like we win an All-Ireland, or, do you know, I start every game the year previous and then the following year it just doesn't happen. I feel like that was probably more so out of your control, because it's not what you would expect coming in to the following season. But obviously if I'm to have it my way, like, and luckily I am still able to compete, like, at 35. So yeah, I think even if, whether we win or don't win, like, I think just, as I say, like, consistency is key with performance, and going out and doing my best and giving it everything that I have, and just not having any regrets, I suppose, in terms of my training and my approach to the game, and walking away with that would be the ultimate goal. But I guess never say never, like, it might be out of my control, like it was like Tommy's.
So was there no part of you that thought, right, I'm going to train like a dog for the winter, and I'm going to lose some weight, I'm going to do whatever it takes, speed, look at like sprint experts and speak to S&C coaches, and I'm going to come back for the Welsh Cup in January, and I'm going to be flying over the turf? There was no party that wanted to give it another rattle?
Yeah, no, because my goal was to go out being dropped.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Go out at the bottom, like, because I never
You're
wanted.
literally the first person I've ever heard say those words.
Yeah, and it's gospel. And I did the same with Tullaroan.
My goal was to go out at the bottom.
Well, not the bottom.
There's the headline right there from this podcast.
Basically, yeah, I suppose. But going out being dropped, yes. And I did the same with Tullaroan.
You were dropped by the senior team in Tullaroan as well?
Well, I wasn't playing. You know, yeah. But, like, so I did not want to go out with my peak. That'd be my worst nightmare.
Really, yeah.
Because then I'd be there the following year. Jesus, I could be still playing. I could be man of the match here.
So then there's regrets then?
Then there's regrets.
Okay.
So everyone is different. Like, I know people, they want to go out the top and have went and are so happy. But that'd be my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So I went out the exact way, and I said it for years before that. That's the way I wanted to go out.
So you've no regrets.
But I didn't think it happened at that age.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, I thought it might be again.
So you had time though on your side, and your body was fine. You weren't carrying injuries or...
Yeah, but I wasn't fast, you see. I had no pace. But I got away with it for a long time. So, like, I wouldn't have got away with it till I'm 33. Like, I think it all comes down to pace. Is my, you know, thoughts about that. Like, so all of that.
Yeah, and when I say my peak, I kind of mean it in a similar way. As like, you had kind of given it everything at that point.
Yeah.
And I said the last time we sat here that I'd walk away when I felt second best. So it's kind of similar in that sense. Obviously, no one
You'll
likes
walk
to
away
be
and be dropped now as well.
Yeah, and I'll say
that's the dream.
Tommy Walsh said that's the dream. Yeah, so I'll go with that.
My dream is to be told I'm no longer good enough.
Yeah, I think when you give it everything and achieve everything you can achieve, like that's the pinnacle of walking away.
That's the goal.
So
It's such a really refreshing way of hearing you guys describe. Look, you're making it make sense to me, but I've never heard someone say that.
Do you take Mick O'Dwyer, Dave, or Brian, or, you know, I suppose Jim Gavin did go out to kind of the top, but if they had to given up after 3 All-Irelands, they might never have won 8, 9, 10. So
Yeah. No, look, it does make total sense when you put it in those terms. The conversation with Brian, are you sitting down, meeting him? We've heard this story so often, and it's the same for whether it's Henry or JJ or Huggy or whoever it is, talking to Brian Cody. They never really had a proper relationship with him. He never tried to convince any of them to stay. It was just like, oh, fair enough. You're done. Grand. Like, when you sit down for that coffee, if that's how it did unfold, are you waiting, hoping that he'll go, Jesus, Tommy, come on, take a bit of extra time to think about this? Is there a party that's hoping that that's his reaction?
No, because as I said, I knew him since I was probably 12 or 11. So, like, you know, we knew each other so well. So, like, I told him after the medals that night. Came out and told my mother and father then in the car. They were like, what did you just do? You know, so it's as simple as that, like, you know. And you know, he said, now in fairness to him, he asked me, was I sure? Maybe he was trying to, I should have went back. So, no, like, I don't know. If I wanted to go back, I'm sure I would have been allowed. Like,
There would have been a place on the panel for you at least, wouldn't there?
Yeah. And we've seen lads go off the team and getting back onto the team. So, like, sure, if you came back into form and that, and you know, but no, it was simple enough. But it was the way, as I said, I wanted it, like, you know.
But when they won the All Ireland the following year, are there regrets?
Oh no. Because as I said to you, if I had to been playing, there'd be regrets. Because then Jesus could be there. But I knew there was a slim chance of me being there. So, no, I had no regrets. And I remember I was up in a box at that All Ireland. And I was like, oh my God, is this what happens in the box? Just kind of out for the match, back in at half time. It was like, you know, watching Friends on television or something. And in fairness though, that's the way I would be going to maybe a soccer match or something. Like, you know, it's more an occasion.
And do you find it tough to watch?
No, and
before, like, as in
so
more
lucky,
so after,
Ashling now in the media now, like, so I've been on the All Ireland final since, and that's unbelievable. On the radio, it's great, like, with the lads. So for that simple reason, you're getting ready still for it. But I think when you're gone past it, it's easier, like, you know.
Really, yeah.
I think it'd be tough to watch now if you give it up that bit earlier. Like, say, even with Tullaroan, could have went out on a high in age 36 or 37 when we won the All Ireland. But then when they were playing the following year, you'd be like, jeez, could I be out there still? Towards a stay playing.
Of course.
Yeah, because you're still playing, Clock is against us, as always happens on this podcast, which is a good thing. A couple of really quick questions for you. The greatest thing you ever said to me, and I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with you over the years, was, and I say this to my two boys, you once said to me, Dave, hurling is a simple game. You go for the ball, chase it like you love it, hit it like you hate it. Are there many that you think out there that just try and overcomplicate the game?
Yeah, and just that quote came from a Cork man.
Did it?
Yeah. Dennis Philpott. He was a great teacher. Yeah. Great teacher inside in Kieran's. Tough man, a hard man. And like, he's children, probably grandchildren now playing with Kilkenny underage levels. Brilliant players as well. But yeah, Philo, we used to call him, like, not in school obviously, but brilliant teacher, like, you know, and that was his saying. Go after the ball like you love and hit it like you hate. Like, is there any better advice?
No,
to
it just
get?
breaks the game down into its foundation.
Into his foundation.
Get to it as quick as you can and get rid of it as quick as you can.
It's simple advice, like,
it's brilliant.
Most effective.
But you can't do that now. Video analysis change all that.
Be giving the ball away and accused of not caring about it too much.
And to know where you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
Back then, no one really knew. It's just you had to mark your man and find it out on the day. But now you know exactly what he's nearly know what he's eating for breakfast.
The good old days.
Exactly, yeah.
Here's an easy one for you. You hurled with and against DJ, Henry and TJ. Which of them are the best?
Well, I JJ into that as well.
Okay, right.
So 4 geniuses.
Okay. Which of the 4 was the best?
And I couldn't separate them, like. And I didn't hurl with Kerr, but I'm going to add Eddie Kerr to that one as well. They're the
so your way of abdicating responsibility for the answer is just to keep adding names into it.
Like, what have we? So JJ was just defender. He was the DJ, Henry TJ of defenders.
Okay.
Just the prince, like, of everything, of all aspects of it.
So we can separate him, the greatest defender he ever played with.
And then,
what about the other 3?
And the lads then were just so different. Like, so DJ was the greatest guy to inspire young players to play the game. When he got the ball, like, the whole stand was just like on edge, because more than likely it was going to be a goal or a goal.
He was like
chance.
Messi.
He was like Messi.
Yeah.
Oh, you could hear the zing in Nolan Park or in Crow Park when DJ got the ball. And so for that, I'd say he was the most exciting. And then Henry was just as a dominator, like, leader.
Is he more like Cristiano Ronaldo?
See, well, I don't.
Doesn't quite have the flair of a Messi or a DJ, but consistent brilliance.
Yeah.
Top of his game, a leader, big moments, man.
Yeah.
Non-stop.
Yeah, sure. and probably more modest. So yeah, and dedication to every part of the game, like Cristiano is. And there's one thing that with Henry that you wouldn't realise, because he became such a leader in his later years, people kind of remembered him for that. But when you had to mark him, he was a genius as well.
Yeah.
I just found when you go and try and go in front of Henry, he goes behind you and he wins the ball somewhere, and he's always 5 yards in space. You go behind him and say, I better mark him from behind, and next minute he's gone forward winning the ball, and then he's getting these little flicks like 2002 All Ireland, you know, as you said, 2012 with the penalty in 09. He was just insane. Like the goal he got against Limerick in 07. Like, I know he won that well enough in the end, but the second half I'd say was even. We scored about 2-3 or 2-4 in the space of 5 minutes, and Henry started out with a great goal where he had to change around his hands and everything and flick the ball to the net. So you only realise Henry's genius when you marked him, I felt. And then sure, TJ then...
Is he a bit of a hybrid of the two then, maybe? TJ? He's all the flair that DJ had, but he's a consistent excellence and big moments as well, like Henry.
Yeah, he's able to do it at 36, 37 years of age. He probably stayed more injury-free than...
He's looking to go out of the bottom
lads
as well, it seems.
Ah.
He's waiting to be dropped.
Yeah, TJ was just, from a young age, TJ was incredible. And he got better with age. He was like a fine wine. Like the changing point for TJ was the 2012 All-Ireland final where he busted his knee. And so I think it was his kneecap got split. So TJ wasn't big into the gym or anything like that before that. He was just relied totally on skill and poking around. And then he just became, I suppose, like Ronaldo as well, total dedication to his body.
Yeah. And
his hurling was always genius. So I think they're all geniuses in different ways. Like, who's better, Pele, Messi or Ronaldo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe an unanswerable question.
An unanswerable question, yeah. And outside of, I don't know, is that another question about outside of Kilkenny?
No, do you know what?
Yeah.
We'll keep it to the Kilkenny geniuses. It's been, like I said this last week when we had Johnny, I'd rather another 45 minutes, to be honest, to talk to you. There's stuff we didn't touch on, but I knew it was going to be brilliant chatting to you today, and you haven't disappointed. Great spending time with you, Tommy. Hopefully we'll get to do it over the next few months now on the media side of things. What a career, what a love for the game, what a man. That was the Tommy Walsh episode of the Square Ball podcast. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Want to say thanks to Ashling for joining us today.
Thanks for having
and she'll be back. Today's not a one-off, as Ashling being our co-host. And go back and listen to Ashling's episode as well. It's in the archive from season 1. You will not regret it. It's an absolutely brilliant listen. And Ashling talks about her life and her camogie in a way that we wouldn't hear from most players, be they current or ex-players. Reminder to subscribe to our YouTube page. It's at the Square Ball Pod. Make sure you like the video, leave a review, leave a comment. Please keep the comments coming in as well. I'm sure there'll be a lot of very positive ones this week on the back of Listen to Tommy. Someone that you might like to hear in the show. Let us know any suggestions. Follow the @WilliamHillIreland page on Instagram and Twitter as well. There's more great sport and content there to be found. And of course, like or review us on Spotify, subscribe to us on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts as well. That's equally acceptable. We're going to be back next week with another brilliant episode of the Square Ball podcast. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you again soon.